In the peaceful town of Briarwood, one road is whispered about but never traveled. Hollow Creek Road, at the end, stands a house that shouldn't exist, and those who live there disappear. What dark force traps them inside? Tonight you'll hear the story of a man who thought he'd found peace, but the house had been waiting, hungry, watching, and ready to claim its next victim. In the small town of Briarwood, Pennsylvania, people learned early not to ask too many questions. Briarwood was the kind of place that seemed like it belonged to another time. Quiet, simple, with one main street, a diner that always smelled like burnt coffee and bacon grease, and a high school football field that lit up brighter on Friday nights than the church did on Sundays. Everyone waved, everyone smiled, and everyone knew each other's business. But there was one place everyone avoided: Hollow Creek Road. It wasn't marked by signs or fences, no police tape, no warnings. On maps, it looked ordinary, a thin gray line that ended at a single house. But the people of Briarwood knew better. No one who lived in that house ever stayed for long. Ethan Caldwell was new in town. Recently divorced, he'd left behind the chaos of Chicago for something quieter. At 42, unemployed by choice after selling his tech startup, he wanted peace. Nights filled with stars instead of city lights. Fresh air scented with pine trees instead of exhaust fumes. Briarwood seemed perfect. When he heard about the house on Hollow Creek Road, he thought he'd found a hidden gem. But the realtor, Marla Jennings, warned him quickly, her tired eyes darting away. "You don't want that one," she said, sliding the listing folder across the diner table like it burned her fingers. "It's isolated, old, and needs work," she added hesitantly. Ethan smiled, eager. "That's fine. I like projects." Marla hesitated, sipping her coffee without drinking it. It's been on and off the market for a couple of decades. That should have been his first warning. But Ethan only saw the photos. A 2-story house with a wraparound porch, white paint peeling just enough to look rustic, surrounded by forest with a creek winding through the property like a silver scar. The price was unbelievably low. "Why?" Ethan asked. Marla's grip tightened on her mug. "Some say it's unlucky." Ethan laughed softly. "I don't believe in that." Marla didn't return the smile. Hollow Creek Road twisted away from town like it was trying to escape. The pavement narrowed, cracked, and finally gave way to gravel. Trees leaned close, their branches arching overhead, swallowing the sunlight. His GPS lost signal almost immediately. By the time Ethan reached the house, it felt like he'd driven much farther than the map showed. The house stood silently, at the road's end, just like in the pictures, but quieter. Too quiet, no birds, no insects, no wind stirring the leaves. The creek behind it flowed slow and dark. Ethan stepped out of his car and immediately felt it, pressure in his ears. Like descending too fast in an airplane. He swallowed hard, shook it off, and grabbed his keys. The front door opened easily. Inside, the air was cold despite the late summer heat outside. Dust lay thick on the furniture like a soft blanket of snow. The house smelled faintly of mildew and something else. Something sour, almost rotten. Ethan walked room to room, his footsteps echoing in the stillness. The living room, the dining room, the kitchen, everything felt frozen in time, as if the house had been waiting for him. Upstairs, 3 bedrooms. The master faced the creek. Its window stood open even though the air outside was still. Ethan frowned as the curtains fluttered gently, without a breeze. That night, in a cheap motel down the road, Ethan signed the papers. The first night in the house, he dreamed of water, not swimming, not drowning, just standing. Knee-deep in the creek behind the house, the water black and thick like oil. The forest loomed silent and dark all around him. Someone whispered his name. When he turned, the house stood behind him, but wrong. Taller, leaning forward as if listening. He woke at 3:17 a.m., heart racing. The house was silent. Too silent. Then came the knock. Not at the front door, but from inside the walls. Strange things happened quickly after that. Objects moved, not enough to be obvious, just enough to make him doubt himself. His keys on the kitchen counter instead of the table. Cabinet doors left slightly open. Every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., the knocks came. 3 knocks, always from a different wall. Ethan told himself it was old pipes. But pipes don't whisper. On the 5th night, lying awake and staring at the ceiling, he heard a voice, low, wet, close. "Ethan." He sat up so fast his head spun. "Hello?" he called. Silence. Then from beneath the floorboards, "Don't leave." The next morning, Ethan went into town pale and exhausted. At the diner, the conversation stopped as soon as he walked in. Lily, a young waitress, froze when she heard his address. "You live there?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Ethan said. "Why does everyone react like that?" Lily glanced around nervously, then leaned closer. "My uncle lived there. Back in the 90s. What happened?" She swallowed. "He said the house talked to him. A week later, he walked into the creek at night and never came back." Ethan laughed weakly. "Sleepwalking?" "No," Lily said. "He left a note. Said the house was calling him home." That night, Ethan barely slept. The creek's whisper followed him into his dreams, cold and patient. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the knocking was louder than ever, 3 sharp raps. He sat up, heart pounding. The wooden panel beside his bed was solid. No loose boards, no drafts. Then he saw it. A thin crack, almost invisible, running down the wall. From it, a faint black mist oozed like smoke. Heavier than smoke. Darker than shadows. Ethan blinked and it vanished. The next day, desperate for answers, Ethan searched every inch of the house. Pulled wallpaper, checked behind shelves, inspected every wall. Nothing. No secret rooms. No hidden passages. Only the whispering. Always calling his name at night. Desperation gnawed at him. Why had the house chosen him? Why did it want him? He found himself drawn to the creek every evening. The water looked darker than before, almost like a mirror. But it didn't reflect the trees or sky, only his face, and sometimes a shadow behind it. One afternoon, a woman stepped from the woods. She wore a faded floral dress and muddy boots, her hair tangled and wild. Her eyes were sharp but tired. "Don't go in," she said softly. Ethan stepped back. "Who are you?" "My name's Maggie. I grew up here." He told her about the house, the knocks, the voices. Maggie nodded slowly. "The house? It's not just a place. It's a prison. A prison. People go in, but the house never lets them go. It feeds on fear, loneliness, regret. And the creek? That's where its victims end up, trapped between worlds, neither alive nor dead, stuck in the water's shadow." Ethan shivered. That night, reckless, he took a flashlight and a crowbar and went back to the house. At 3:17, the knocking started as usual. He pressed his ear to the crack and heard a faint voice whisper, "Help me." Ethan hammered at the wall until it broke open. Behind the panel was a small cavity and a weathered notebook. It belonged to Samuel Hayes, a man who had lived there decades ago and vanished without explanation. His writing was frantic. Pages spoke of growing darkness, voices, shadows, and a presence watching him from the corners of his vision. He wrote about the creek and people vanishing into its depths. The last page was a chilling warning. "The house knows my name. It whispers it at night. It wants me to stay forever. I'm trying to leave, but it's too late. If you find this, don't come here. Don't listen." Ethan slammed the notebook shut. Cold fingers brushed his neck. He spun around. Empty room. Outside, the creek gurgled, dark and waiting. He knew one thing: he couldn't stay, but part of him was already trapped. That night at 3:17, the knocking began again. 3 sharp raps. The crack in the wall had widened like a wound. From it came a soft whisper, "Stay." Ethan shook his head. "No." The next morning, Ethan visited Maggie again. "You need to know more," she said. "The house is alive. It feeds on regrets and pain. The longer you stay, the stronger it gets." "Why do you care?" he asked. Maggie's eyes darkened. "Because I almost didn't make it out." She told him about her brother David, the last victim of the house. David had moved in years ago, trying to escape his own demons. One night he disappeared. "No one ever found him," Maggie said, voice trembling. "But sometimes at the creek I swear I see his face under the water." Ethan felt a chill. That night he set up cameras around the house. The house seemed to breathe. The temperature dropped. Floorboards creaked with no one there. Then at exactly 3:17 a.m., the knocking began. 3 sharp knocks. The cameras caught a shadow, a tall, twisted figure standing at the foot of Ethan's bed. Its face was featureless, a hollow black void. It whispered, "Stay with us." Ethan bolted from the bed. The front door slammed shut before he could open it. Windows wouldn't budge. The house was alive, trapping him. Panic took over. In the living room, black letters dripped down the walls. "No escape." The whispers grew louder, a maddening chorus. A cold hand grabbed his ankle. A black tendril like smoke with fingers wrapped around his leg. "Let me go," Ethan screamed. The tendril pulled harder, dragging him toward the crack in the wall. He struggled with everything he had. Suddenly the door burst open. Maggie stood there holding a lantern. "Ethan, come with me." She grabbed his hand. The tendrils lashed out but recoiled at the lantern's light. They ran into the night. Behind them, the house pulsed, angry and hungry. The creek shimmered black under the moon. Outside, Ethan gasped for air. He looked back. The house stood silent. But Ethan knew it wasn't over. The house had marked him. It would call him back. In the heart of Vermont, nestled among ancient towering pines, stood Ravenwood Manor, a grand estate with an air of forgotten grandeur and deep secrets. The locals spoke of it only in whispers, tales of strange lights flickering through its windows at night, ghostly figures pacing the halls, and eerie sounds carried by the cold winds made everyone wary. For decades, no one dared live there, except a few brave souls who never stayed long. The manor had a reputation for swallowing people whole, trapping their souls within its walls, leaving behind only silence. Sarah Mitchell was a young investigative journalist, known for chasing stories others feared. She had grown up hearing the legends of Ravenwood Manor but always dismissed them as small-town superstitions. Determined to uncover the truth, she moved to the nearby town, renting a small cabin just miles away from the ominous estate. Her plan was simple: spend a week inside Ravenwood, document everything, and finally reveal what lurked behind the manor's imposing gates. The first night she arrived, the air was thick with decay and an unnatural chill that seeped into her bones. She pushed open the heavy oak door, which groaned on its hinges, and stepped inside. The grand foyer was draped in dust. Cobwebs hung from ornate chandeliers, and faded portraits of grim-faced ancestors lined the walls. Sarah's flashlight flickered as shadows danced in the corners of her vision. As she explored the manor room by room, she uncovered remnants of a forgotten past: a shattered piano in the parlor, a cracked mirror smeared with what looked like old blood, and scattered pages from journals written by the manor's original inhabitants. The entries were cryptic, describing voices in the walls, footsteps in empty hallways, and a presence watching from the dark. On the third night, Sarah awoke to an unbearable coldness pressing down on her chest. The silence was shattered by the soft sound of crying coming from the attic. Heart-pounding, she grabbed her flashlight and climbed the narrow, creaking stairs. The attic door was slightly ajar, and as she pushed it open, she saw a small figure sitting in a broken rocking chair, a little girl with pale, translucent skin and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of sorrow. The girl introduced herself as Lily, her voice a haunting whisper. "Please help me. I'm trapped." The ghost led Sarah through secret passageways, revealing the manor's dark history, a tale of betrayal, madness, and a curse cast by a scorned woman seeking revenge on the family who had wronged her. But as Sarah delved deeper, she realized the curse was more than a story. It was alive, feeding on pain and fear. One night, Sarah discovered a hidden room behind a bookshelf, filled with strange symbols and a dusty old diary belonging to the manor's last owner, a man obsessed with the occult. The diary detailed rituals meant to bind spirits but hinted at a terrible price: the sacrifice of an innocent soul to maintain control. Sarah's blood ran cold as she read the names of several missing children, including Lily. As the nights wore on, supernatural activity intensified. Doors slammed shut on their own, windows shattered, and whispers turned into anguished screams. Sarah struggled with her own sanity, questioning what was real and what was the manor's twisted illusion. Then came the ultimate betrayal. A trusted local who had warned her about the manor revealed himself as a guardian of its dark secrets, determined to stop her from breaking the curse. Cornered and desperate, Sarah turned to Lily for guidance. Together, they performed a dangerous cleansing ritual, facing malevolent spirits and confronting the vengeful presence haunting the manor. The manor shook as the ritual reached its climax, but Sarah's courage never wavered. In a blinding flash, the spirits were released, their thanks echoing before fading into peaceful silence. When Sarah emerged from Ravenwood Manor, she was forever changed, carrying with her the chilling story of a haunted house, a lost child, and the darkness lurking just beyond the edge of light. But she knew the manor's shadow would linger, reminding the town of the thin line between this world and the next. In the quiet town of Maple Ridge, nestled deep within the dense forests of Maine, there was a place no one dared speak of aloud: the hollow pines. estate had been abandoned for decades. A once majestic mansion now crumbled and swallowed by ivy and shadow. The locals whispered stories of strange lights flickering behind broken windows, chilling cries carried by the wind, and an eerie silence that seemed to swallow all sound around it. Michael Turner was a former police officer turned private investigator who had come to Maple Ridge seeking peace after a career marked by loss and mistakes, but peace was the last thing he found when a desperate woman named Claire reached out to him with a plea to find her missing brother Ethan. Michael's curiosity was piqued. Claire explained how Ethan had moved into the Hollow Pines estate hoping for a fresh start but had vanished without a trace. Soon after, neighbors began reporting strange noises, footsteps echoing at night and fleeting shadows lurking near the property. Michael arrived at Hollow Pines on a late autumn afternoon. The sky hung heavy with gray clouds and a biting wind rustled dead leaves across the cracked stone path leading up to the massive oak door that groaned as he pushed it open. A wave of cold air rushed out, greeting him like a breath from the grave. Inside the grand foyer, layers of dust covered furniture, cobwebs draped chandeliers, and faded portraits of the manor's long dead owners stared down at him from cracked walls. As Michael moved through the house, his footsteps echoed. In the vast emptiness, the silence was suffocating, but beneath it was something darker, something that watched and waited. His flashlight flickered, occasionally casting long, jagged shadows that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking. In the parlor, he found an old piano, its keys yellowed and cracked. Some notes echoed softly when his fingers brushed the keys, but the sound was hollow and haunting. At night, Michael set up cameras and motion sensors, hoping to catch proof of the supernatural. The house seemed to breathe with a life of its own. Cold drafts whispered through hallways, and faint sobbing echoed from the upper floors. On the third night, a soft tapping began behind the walls, slowly growing into frantic pounding. Michael followed the sound to the basement, where he discovered strange symbols carved into the wooden beams, glowing faintly under his flashlight's beam. It was there in the darkness that he first saw the boy. The ghostly figure appeared almost translucent, his eyes deep voids of sadness. He reached out his pale hand and whispered, "Please find my sister." Michael's heart pounded, but he steadied himself and followed. The boy led him through hidden doorways and secret passages, revealing the manor's sinister past, a history of dark rituals, madness, and a curse cast by a betrayed woman seeking vengeance on the family who had wronged her. Michael uncovered old journals detailing the descent into madness of the manor's last owner, who dabbled in occult practices to bind spirits to the estate and control death itself. The journal spoke of sacrifices and the tragic fate of children who had disappeared over the years, including the boy and his sister, trapped between worlds, unable to rest. The house fed on their torment, growing stronger with every lost soul. With each passing night, the supernatural activity intensified. Doors slammed shut, trapping him inside rooms. Shadows moved in impossible ways, and ghostly whispers begged for release. Michael's grip on reality began to falter, started seeing visions of the past family tragedies playing out before his eyes. The line between living and dead blurred, and he questioned whether he would become another victim of Hollow Pines. Just when desperation threatened to overwhelm him, Michael discovered a chilling truth. A trusted local who had warned him about the manor revealed himself to be a guardian of its dark secrets. Determined to keep the curse intact, he tried to stop Michael from freeing the trapped souls, leading to a terrifying confrontation in the manor's depths. Drawing on the knowledge he had gathered and the courage Lily and her brother had inspired, Michael performed a dangerous cleansing ritual invoking ancient symbols and words whispered by the spirits themselves. As the manor trembled and shadows twisted wildly, the dark presence screamed in rage, but Michael's determination held firm. When the first light of dawn broke through the stained glass windows, a profound silence fell over Hollow Pines. The spirits were freed, their anguished cries replaced by peaceful whispers of gratitude. The curse lifted, the manor's oppressive weight lifted, as if a great shadow had finally been banished. Michael emerged from Hollow Pines forever, changed, carrying the haunting memories of a haunted estate and the lost souls he had helped escape, but he knew the silence was fragile and the shadows would always linger, reminding him that some secrets are best left undisturbed. In the quiet, rain-soaked town of Ashwood, Maine, the wind whispered through the skeletal branches of towering pines, carrying secrets and sorrow through the cold night air. Among the old maple trees and weathered houses stood a quaint yet forlorn cottage known to locals as Maplewood Cottage. Time had not been kind to it. Its paint peeled like dead skin, and its windows, clouded and cracked, barely held the shadows that roamed inside. Maplewood Cottage had a reputation. Whispers told of a grieving old woman named Agnes who lived there alone, surrounded by memories and silence. The stories told of her granddaughter Lily, a bright, curious child who had vanished one October evening many years ago, never to be seen again. The town spoke of strange happenings, the flicker of candlelight in the attic when no one else was home, the soft echoes of a child's laughter floating on the wind, and the sorrowful song of a woman who waited endlessly. On a chilly autumn afternoon, a boy named Jake moved to Ashwood with his family. Jake was 10, with eyes full of wonder and a heart unafraid of the unknown. His curiosity was insatiable. On his very first evening, as twilight deepened into night, he wandered near Maplewood Cottage, drawn by a soft, golden glow shimmering through the attic window. The wooden porch creaked under Jake's hesitant steps. The door, weathered and swollen from years of neglect, opened slowly as if by invitation. Inside, the air smelled of old wood and forgotten memories. Agnes sat by the hearth, her silver hair catching the firelight, her eyes heavy with a lifetime of grief. "Come in, child," she whispered, her voice trembling yet kind. Jake settled into a worn armchair, and as the fire flickered, Agnes began to speak. Her words were slow, soaked in sorrow. She told Jake about Lily, a child who loved to dance in the sun and talk to the trees. She told of the day Lily disappeared, a day thick with mist and mystery, and the years since, filled with silence and waiting. Suddenly a chill swept through the room, snuffing the fire's glow. In the corner, a faint shimmer appeared, a ghostly figure of a little girl, her eyes wide and pleading. Lily reached out to Jake, silent but desperate. Agnes explained that Lily's spirit was trapped, tethered to the world by a silver locket she always wore. The locket held her last wish, a secret no one had yet uncovered. Until it was found and returned, Lily could not rest. Together, Jake and Agnes embarked on a journey through the shadows of the past. The attic, a dusty labyrinth of forgotten toys and faded photographs, became their map. Each discovery brought whispers, fragments of memory and pain. The house groaned with unseen presence, and time seemed to fold upon itself. Through trembling hands and whispered prayers, Jake uncovered the locket, hidden beneath a loose floorboard beneath a faded note from Lily, written in shaky handwriting. As Jake held the locket aloft, the room filled with a warm light. Lily's form brightened and a smile touched her ethereal lips. With a gentle breeze, Lily's spirit faded into the light, and a long, mournful sigh escaped Agnes's lips. The weight of years lifted from the old woman's shoulders, and the cottage seemed to breathe anew. Jake left Maplewood Cottage that night forever changed, haunted by what he'd seen, yet comforted by the knowledge that some spirits find peace, even in the darkest shadows.